So you see, Dr. Goodrich, Jan is really a very fine girl.
Jan's one of the finest girls I know.
Oh, and we've had such dreams for her, Dr. Goodrich, for her future, her career. They've told us at the college that she could have almost anything she wanted musically.
It's the one thing we've always lived for when Jan gets through college.
Yes, I think I understand.
And now this thing's happened. Well, we're shocked. We're stunned. It was so unexpected. And Mary here feels that
And we don't intend to have our dreams all broken up, Dr. Goodrich. We'll do anything to prevent it. And I tell you, Clark, it's all this girl's doings, this Connie. I'm sure of it now.
And who is this Connie?
Well, that's the question I should have asked before Jan brought her into our home.
Oh, then she's here now at your home?
Yes, she came home with Jan for their spring vacation.
Of course, Jan had written to us about her time and time again. Connie this and Connie that, and we never dreamt until she got here that she was a Cuban. Well, her name isn't even Connie. They just call her that for short. Her name's Consuelo. Consuelo Rodriguez.
She's from Cuba, Dr. Goodrich. She's what they call a crusade scholar.
Whatever that is.
Well, if she's a crusade scholar, that means she's in this country on a scholarship plan of the Methodist Church. And that when she's finished her schooling here, she'll go back to Cuba in service of the church.
So that's it. Well, you know I've always believed in the missionary program of the church, Dr. Goodrich, and that Clark and I have done all we could to support it. But I'll tell you right now, I've had just about enough.
I don't quite understand, Mrs. Dixon. You haven't told me yet what the problem really is.
Of course. I realize we haven't made ourselves very clear. But if you knew what we'd been through, Dr. Goodrich, since this thing happened last night, you just can't know.
Perhaps we'd better start over again, Mary, and at the beginning.
Let me see. To begin with, I have to say that this Consuelo is a very attractive girl, as Jan said. To tell you the truth, when she first arrived, we were agreeably surprised.
I'm so glad you like what I've told you of my country, Mrs. Dixon.
Care for a cup of coffee, Connie?
No, thank you. But yes, you are right. There is another side of the picture.
Oh, that isn't surprising, Consuelo. It can't be all beauty and progress.
Unfortunately, that is true. In Cuba, you see the finest automobiles on the same roads as oxen-drawn carts. And you see great wealth and education and culture on the one hand. But you see the opposite also. Wretched living conditions, poverty, illiteracy. And what I have been most aware of is the need for the church, the Christian ministry, Christian teaching.
And they're so ready for it, Mother. Tell them about the pool room case, Connie. That's a good example.
The what room case?
The pool room case, Jan calls it. You see, the church was trying to establish a new mission, and there was nowhere for the people to meet except in the theater. But the problem was a pool room and a bar were next door to the theater, and were separated from it by only a flimsy curtain. So you can see the noise was very bad.
Well, I should think it would be.
You don't mean they held church services under circumstances like that?
Indeed, yes. It did seem impossible at first, but what happened was this. A little after the service began, the noise stopped, and from the pool room and the bar came all the men, quietly filing into the service.
Why, what a triumph for the new mission.
Oh, yes. The church has a great opportunity in Cuba. My people desperately need the Christian message, and many are eager for it.
And the work camp, Connie. Tell them about it.
The work camp is a wonderful place for young people who want to serve in a place of real need, give their time during the summer to work with the missionaries and with the Cuban people. In many ways, this teaches them more about the Christian way of life and helps them to know what it really means to be a Christian.
Connie was there last summer, and some of the things they accomplished are just unbelievable.
And are you going back again this summer, Connie?
Oh, yes. In fact, I must write a letter tonight about the camp. Oh, it is later than I thought. I believe I will write the letter now, if you will excuse me.
Do come back when you finish, Consuelo, and we'll have our bedtime snack.
Oh, thank you. Bedtime snacks are one of my favorite American customs.
Mother, Daddy, I've got something to tell you, something awfully important.
Jan, dear, a concert tour? You've been invited to go on tour?
No, Mother.
Then our young princess is in love. Is that it, Janny?
No, Daddy, you're both wrong. What I wanted to tell you is that I've made a big decision. At school, we've been hearing a great deal about the need all over the world for young missionaries. Doctors, nurses, teachers, and ministers. and how the church is making an urgent call for them. For a long time, I felt that God wanted me to answer that call. Well, I've decided now. I know what I want to do with my life. I want to go to Cuba and work with the church. Oh, why don't you say something?
Jan, dear, you can't be serious.
I've never been so serious about anything in my life, Mother.
And how long have you been thinking about this, Janny?
For a long time, Daddy. I've known definitely in my own heart for more than a year. But I just waited to tell you until now.
But Jan, your music. You have the education for a fine career in music.
That's one of the wonderful things about it, Mother. My knowledge of music is going to be a big help. Why, the people are musically starved, Connie says.
Oh, I never heard of such a thing. I thought all Cuban people were musical.
Musically inclined, Mother. And that's all the more reason why they should be given the opportunity to learn and to express it. Why, when I talked to Miss Twynham about
And
it...
who is Miss Twynham?
She's with the Church Board of Missions, Daddy. And she says that whatever work I do in Cuba, that my musical background will be a big help. Well, don't you see how God has been guiding me all the time? Preparing me just for this.
No, I don't see. And I'll never give my consent.
Mother.
Nor will your father. Will you, Clark?
Well, I think there are a lot of things to consider here, Mary.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, there's only one thing to be considered. And that is I will not see Jan's musical education wasted. And I will not see my daughter throwing her life away.
Mother, you said just a minute ago while Connie was talking that working in Cuba was a wonderful opportunity for Christian service.
But I wasn't thinking of you, Jan. For some people, yes, but not for you with your cultural background and all your accomplishments.
Oh, Mother, you can't mean that. I only wish I knew more and had more to give. I want to help people, Mother, to find the Christian way of life. And the more I have to give, the more I can help. Don't you see?
No, I'm afraid I don't, Jan. There's only one thing I do see, and that is that you're bent on throwing your life away, and I simply will not have it. And that's just where I stand, Dr. Goodrich.
Mary feels that we should do something to stop Jan from going through with this thing.
I know how much of your plans have been centered in Jan, your plans for her education and her career. And I know that it will be hard for you to be separated from her, hard for you to accept her decision. But to say that Jan is throwing her life away is quite another matter, it seems to me.
But that's just what she's doing, Dr. Goodrich. I don't see any other way of looking at it.
There's a difference between throwing life away and giving it away in service to others, just as there's a difference between wasting life and investing life. Don't you understand, Mrs. Dixon? For the rest of the time that the girls are here, try to make the most of their visit. I'm afraid you'll regret it if you don't.
I don't see how I can, Dr. Goodrich. I don't feel as if I can even be courteous to that Consuelo.
Try, Mrs. Dixon, and you'll be glad later.
So sorry you have to leave this way when you've been here for only 3 days. Your first visit to an American home, too, and I wanted everything to be just perfect.
Please don't worry, Jan. I think I can understand how your mother and father feel.
You're not leaving, Consuelo.
Yes, I think it's best that I go now.
Oh,
But first, I want to thank you for your hospitality. And I want to thank you for something else, too. Many years ago, a wonderful missionary came to my country from your church. The Angel of the Matanzas, my people called her. She made everything different for me. My life, it would have been nothing apart from her. She taught me in the mission kindergarten when I was a child. Through her, I became a Christian. It was she who planted in my heart this great desire to give my life in Christian service. If you would come with me now to where I live, You would see a church, a school, even a clinic in connection with the church, all because she gave her life to Cuba. Oh, I owe you so much, so much. For you are a part of the church that sent her to us. And for this, I want to thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Mr. Dixon, my friends in Christ.
Consuelo, wait.
Yes, Mr. Dixon?
Perhaps you'd better wait for Jan.
Clark, whatever are you saying?
We've been wrong about this thing, Mary. Jan's right. We've got to let her go.
Oh, Clark.
Oh, it'll be all right.
You'll see.
Isn't it strange, Consuelo? We sent a missionary to you who made a difference in your life, and now you've come to us to make a difference in ours.
And so Jan Dixon's going to a summer work camp in Cuba. Her first step in a life's work, she calls it. And she's going with her parents' consent. Of course, it was something of a struggle for Mrs. Dixon, but when she began to realize what was really stirring in her daughter's heart, she gradually came to accept Jan's decision. I think she'll be proud of Jan. Proud that she is among those Christian missionaries who are doing real jobs out over the world, in places as widely separated as a village in Africa and a Navajo reservation in America, teaching and nursing, demonstrating better ways of farming, better ways of living. I have a picture booklet here that tells the story. Words alone can never tell this story, and so it's full of pictures. Shows what some of these people are doing out over the world. Perhaps you'd like to have a copy of it. If so, take a card or a letter and address it to me, the pastor, in care of this station. And on the other side at the top, write the word job. And then your name, your address, your city and state. Remember, be sure to write the word job at the top of the card, and then your name, your address, your city and state. And address it to me, the pastor, in care of this station. And I'll see that your copy of this book is on its way in a few days, showing you what some of these people are doing out across the world in the investment of their life. Of course, there are many ways of investing life. Not all of us can or should go to another place or another country. There are jobs which need the investment of our life, our time, and our support right where we live. But remember that all great living involves the great giving of self. That's the truth which Jan's parents discovered in a personal way. And that's the truth which Jesus put in these words which have been proved by the centuries. For whosoever would save his life shall lose it. But whosoever loses his life for my sake shall find it.